Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mound Science and Energy Museum Association monthly seminar. It is November the 15th, 2023, and we're at the Mound Cold War Discovery Center in Miamisburg. We are very pleased to have tonight a noted astronomer who worked at the Cincinnati Observatory for a number of years and is on various media, television, explaining the nature of astronomy and many things, including lots of eclipses and so forth. And as most of you are aware, this part of Ohio and the Midwest are going to experience a full solar eclipse on April the 8th next year, which will be total darkness for at least 3 minutes.
Because of the clouds.
No, the clouds are going to move. Always got a heck from the crowd, you know that? Anyway, Dean's going to give that presentation. I'm not going to hold you back, because I'm sure he has a lot of interesting things to tell you and show you, and enjoy the evening.
All right, well, thank you very much for the intro, and thank you very much for having me here today. First off, can everybody hear me okay?
Sure.
Okay, that's good. I usually like to walk around a lot too, but I know there's video cameras on me. Do you guys have to move them if I walk them, or do I just stay? I'll just stay right here. I'll do my best, but I usually like to wander and move. But glad to be here to talk about eclipses and, of course, the big one. And you all, well, hopefully know about what's going to happen on April 8th, where we're going to have a total solar eclipse happening in this part of the country. Do you realize how big of a deal this is? I mean, I live in a very small, well, I guess a very vast world of the universe. And I've been following this for a long time. This date has been circling on my calendar forever, because having a total solar eclipse come through this part of the country is extremely rare. Now, in Cincinnati, we're not going to get a total solar eclipse. We're going to get 99%. You think that sounds good, right? 99%, that's a good score. You know, but no, you do not want 99%. One of my biggest jobs over the next couple months is convincing everybody to leave Cincinnati. You must get to 100%, no matter what. Whatever you have to do, you have to see this eclipse. How many people saw the one 6 years ago? Were you forever changed?
Yes.
Yes.
Who said no? You know, what happened? Oh boy, something happened. Something happened since then. It is unbelievable when this happens. You're out there in the middle of the daytime. A shadow sweeps across the land. You look up and the sky is the weirdest silver purple color you've ever seen. Stars are popping out in the middle of the daytime. Animals are thinking it's nighttime and going crazy. The person next to you is making the weirdest noises and grunts and squeals because they've never seen anything like this before. It's incredible. And it lasts for just a few minutes, and then the sun pops back out, everything turns back to normal, and the person next to you is back to normal also. And you think, did that happen? It's the most surreal thing that ever you could experience. And I tell people, I say that if you haven't seen this, this is the best thing you will ever see in your entire life. Birth of children, nothing. First job, nothing. Marriage, nothing. This is the best. Okay, so I'm exaggerating a little bit. But as far as astronomy goes, this is the Super Bowl. This is the best thing. And the reason why I'm very excited about it is because this is the closest one we will have to Cincinnati. Well, I went back in the past, and the last total solar eclipse in Cincinnati was the year 1395. The next one, I went to the year 3000. Nothing. I gave up. I thought that's far enough. But then somebody wrote to me and they said, I did it. I went past 3,000. It's going to be the year 3046. I should have just gone a little farther. But anyway, 3046. So from 1395 to 3046, nothing. Except for 2024. And so you have to see this. And so I'm going to try to get you kind of pumped up about this, excited about this, and figure out ways that you can, number one, get the day off of work, that's for sure, get the day off of school, get friends and family to come visit, have you know, a whole big group of here, have a big party of it, how to monetize it, and have a good time with it. So we'll be flying around, and my topic today, we're going to be talking about solar eclipses of the past, and then talk about the one coming up here in a few months. Because one of the things about eclipses is you have to be in the right place at the right time. And so that takes some effort. And people that do this are called eclipse chasers. They have to travel to this narrow path of where the eclipses are happening. And I first became aware of these eclipse chasers when they were going to exotic places to chase eclipses. It's basically an excuse to travel. I highly encourage it. And so I'm going to show you some of my exotic eclipse trips and a couple fun things, and then also think about the one coming up. Like Robert said, I was the astronomer at the Cincinnati Observatory for more than 20 years, and recently left there to pursue speaking, writing, travel, eclipse chasing, all sorts of things like that. And so this is my passion in life. This is more than a job to me. This is a lifestyle, learning about the space, and eclipses are a big part of that. So just a few weeks ago, I was in the Grand Canyon, did another 2-week stint there as their astronomer in the Grand Canyon, hiking around the trails, showing people the stars. And would you believe it? It's really dark there. They have some serious stars that you can see there. It was so beautiful to go there. And so in addition to my other work, I also am host of a podcast called Looking Up with Dean Regas. This is a podcast done with Cincinnati Public Radio, WVXU. So if you get your podcast, check that out. We have a new episode every 2 weeks, and it's a lot of fun about what's up in space. And then I'm also the author of 6 books, including 100 Things to See in the Night Sky, 1,000 Facts About Space, and my controversial How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto. I never knew I could write a kid's book so controversial. Basically, the premise is adults are still mad. How many of you are still mad about what we did to Pluto? You can be honest. Well, I know. It was 17 years ago. You all hold a grudge, that's for sure. Don't mess with you guys. And so what happened is that kids would always come up to me and ask questions about everything they're seeing in space. And then if they want to know about the universe, they want to know about black holes, they want to know about Saturn, Mars. And then an adult would push their way to the front and break in and say, yeah, but Pluto should still be a planet. And I was like, these poor kids. I mean, these poor kids are just pushing a kid out of the way. So I thought I need to write a book for kids to walk through their traumatized adults through the loss of a planet. And yes, they even illustrate the 5 stages of grief in this book. So you can find yourself on that anger, denial, or whatever it is. So I have my books in the back there. After the talk, I'd be happy to check them out and sign and sell them also back there. So check those out. And also, I've got these. These are going to be like gold pretty soon. Eclipse glasses. So if you want to check those out after we can, I'll meet you there at the back by the table. So let's just kind of run through the basics of an eclipse first and what makes it so incredibly special. So this is the usual setup. This is usually the diagram with this of what it looks like with the sun on one side, the earth on the other side, the moon in the middle. What's wrong with this graphic? Scale's terrible. Sun's too small, Earth's too big, they're all too close together, but you can't fit it on the page, so that's how they do it. So, but that's essentially what happens. And this little narrow shadow comes down to touch the Earth, and the path of totality is usually about 80 miles wide. So it's a very narrow path, and so you have to be on this narrow swath to be there. Now, most of the time, more popular eclipses are partial solar eclipses. That's where part of the sun is blocked out by the moon. So here's a solar eclipse at sunset. As the sun was going down, a little bite of the sun taken out of it right there. So this is an old slide that I made a long, long time ago with the 3 total solar eclipses in the United States to watch out for. First one, August 21st, 2017. Passed. Awesome. Great. Next one, April 8, 2024, coming up. And then the one after this, if you miss it, August 12, 2045. Yeah, I know. Do the math in your head. Are you going to make that? For me, I know exactly where I'm going to be. It cuts right through South Florida, a nice little retirement home. I'm looking at Fort Lauderdale. They'll just wheel me out there, and I'll just look at it. And no. So that's the thing. That's what makes this so special. You got to get these things while you can. Partial eclipses, that happen every couple of years or so, but total eclipse is very rare. So here's what the sun and the moon look like if you put them next to each other. Sun, moon. All right, so how does the little moon block out the big sun? It's closer. How much closer? Anybody want to take?
280,000 versus 93 million.
There's a hint up there on the screen. It is 400 times closer. So the sun's 400 times bigger, and this moon is 400 times closer. So we put those two factors together, what happens? The sun and the moon seem like they're the same size in our sky. That is completely unique. There's no other place in the solar system where we have this. If you're on Mars, the moons of Mars are too small to block out the sun. And if you're on Jupiter, the moons of Jupiter are too big and block out way too much of the sun. So ours has this perfect little balance of the two. And so if you get the two of them lining up just perfectly, and you get the moon just barely covering over the sun, that's when you get that. And that's what we want to see in April. So this is just an incredible sight to see, and just an amazing thing that you cannot miss, because they're just so rare. And we have such a fine line here. So this is a picture from a satellite looking down at Antarctica. This is the shadow of the moon on the ground. So this is what the shadow kind of looks like from up above. And so people took a trip and chased the eclipse to Antarctica back in the early 2000s. And I almost did this trip, except for you had to fly to South Africa, then maybe get on a boat to go to Antarctica, or maybe catch a plane to Antarctica. They almost didn't make it because the weather was so bad. But the people actually made it through there, flew on a Russian plane with no windows, and they got there and, well, they got to see it. It was so low on the horizon that you could eclipse the eclipse. And it still worked out. So people travel all around the world for this. Australia, Africa, South America, North America, Europe, all over the place to see these things. So now there's another type of eclipse called an annular eclipse. And this is one little thing, because I said the moon and the sun seem like they're the same size in the sky, but not always. The moon varies its distance from the Earth quite a bit. And so if the moon is closer to the Earth, it blocks out more of the sun. If it's farther from the Earth, it won't block out the entire sun. And you get this thing called a ring of fire eclipse, where that's this moon in front of the sun. So it's quite a big difference between like a small moon and a big moon. So we had one May 20th, 2010. Then we had one June 10th, 2021. Then we had just one a few weeks ago. So this one I got to see. This one I did not get to see. And the reason why I didn't get to see this one is because it was only visible in Canada. And what was happening in 2021 to make that difficult? I don't remember. It's all a blur those few years of not going out. And so it was, you couldn't cross the border into Canada. They wouldn't let Americans in. I had no thought that there was any way that they would let me in. But one of my colleagues was determined to go. And he said, will you write me a note? I said, why? What, oh, sure, I'll write you a note. What are you going to do? You're going to show it to the border police and then they're going to let you in because they know who I am or something? Like, no, make it really fluffy and like, I have to see this. This is part of the Cincinnati Observatory history to send people to see this. I have to document this. We've been doing it for 150 years. I was like, okay, I'll write that up. It's not going to work, but I'll write it up for it. He actually did. He went to the border up by, not Mackinac, up north of Michigan there, right? Is that Sault Ste. Marie? Something like Sault Ste. Marie. He goes to the border there and shows it to them, and they almost let him in. I couldn't believe it. Because he texted me, he said that didn't work, and he drove home. But I saw him just recently, and he said, they thought about it. They actually did look at the letter, and they almost let me in. And then the guy said, no, we can't do this. No, we can't.
You didn't have the case of Molson.
I guess not, yeah, I know. That's what, we should have thought of that. That would have been a good. So that leaves October 14th, 2023. But the thing that I wanted to share is that, when these happen, they go over some interesting places. And so they give you an excuse to go travel. So for this one, I had an excuse to travel. It was going to go over California and Nevada and out west. And I saw it going kind of close to a certain kind of place that I kind of wanted to go to. And the view was from Reno, Nevada. Now, I didn't want to go to Reno specifically. There just happens to be something around Reno that's quite a beautiful spot and location. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. The people go on vacation there. Lake Tahoe is not very far away. And it is a beautiful place. So I thought, well, I'll just go suffer through an eclipse and then go over to Lake Tahoe afterwards. So Reno is an interesting little town. They call it the biggest little city in the world. So I called this the biggest little eclipse in the world, and they didn't think that was very funny. But anyway, so here's the day in Reno, Nevada, May 20th, 2012. It was quite the scene. They had a lot of people there. We were at the campus there at the university, and there was a couple thousand people there in the grounds checking us out with all sorts of interesting solar viewing equipment. Because if you have even a little sliver of sunlight showing, you have to have those glasses on. You have to use protection to be able to look at the sun. So we have all sorts of solar filters, ways to project the sun. Here's me with my little telescope that I packed in my suitcase to take with me. This is a solar scope that lets you see the eruptions on the sun, the prominences and that kind of thing. And then I got my eclipse glasses ready to go. And so everything was going good. I even had a camera on the little telescope taking some pictures. It was a beautiful sunny day. And then, so I got a couple pictures as it was progressing. Now, I'm very nervous on eclipse day. I'm a basket case, because any little cloud that's around, it makes me nervous. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to be around me, because I will snap if you try to push me. And so there was a little cloud that was hanging out there. It was slowly moving towards the sun. And I had my eye on it. And it just kept coming over and kept coming over. And I was like, it's not going to come. Oh, are you kidding me? And here it is. Annularity happens. The moon's inside the sun. And then the cloud got it. So, now, they say that you have some adversity, you remember things better, and you think things better of things. And so adversity happened, and so the one plus of this happened was that I got to experience 2,000 people yell at the same time. No! The sheer anger at the clouds, at the gods. It was, those people were raging. Oh, and so luckily that cloud heard us and moved on its way. And so I got to see the very end of it also. So it was only clouded up for maybe about a minute or so, but it was still 1 minute of the important part. And so here it is as it's progressing along and touching the edge there, and there we go. And what you can see with these pictures here along the edge, you see these little dots. They call these Bailey's beads. And this is the sunlight coming around the mountains of the moon. So the moon is imperfect in shape, and so you can see every little bump and lump of the moon's surface there as it comes out. And that was really cool. It was an island of light coming through a lunar valley. So there's lots of ways you can look at the sun safely. The pinhole in a box method. You all know about that, right? You let the pinhole go through a box, you put it over your head, you let the light come through and into the other side of the box. Don't do that. It's so lame. It really is. I know that's what they told you to do way back when, and it's everybody has a box and you put a hole in it. The problem with this is, if I tell people, put a pinhole in a box, let the light come through the box down into the bottom, you know what they're going to do instead? They're going to put the hole in the box, they're going to look through the hole in the box right at the sun. That's what they're going to do. So don't do the pinhole. It's not that good. It really isn't. Because you can make your own pinhole with your fingers. You lace your fingers like this and make little pinholes. And the light comes through like little crescents. That's the same thing you do with the pinhole in a box. You can do this all you want, and that's the actual shape of the sun. So it comes through during the crescent stages and even the annular stage too. When I did that with the annular stage, you see this little, like a little target symbol. That's what it looks like. It's pretty cool. And so maybe you saw this in 2017 when the light was coming through leaves, on the trees, down on the ground. It makes little crescents and all that kind of stuff. So, but I would say get the welders, or get the glasses, the Eclipse glasses that if you still have some from the last one, they might be okay, but they do degrade over time. So just double check to make sure they're still solid, you can still block out a lot of light. But it's always good to get some new ones to check those out too. You can also get a filter to put on the front of your camera. So if you have an SLR camera, you can get a filter that goes in there, blocks the light before it gets to the camera. Take pictures that way. Get some of the glass, put it in front of your phone. Take a picture that way. It works pretty well. So you can try this in lots of different ways. And these filters, there's some on the website where I got my Eclipse glasses. They have filters on there that are about 20 bucks. Pretty cheap that you can put over top of a camera. Or a small telescope or binoculars if you have binoculars too. So now this fellow was standing next to me. He had a super giant great camera, and that was his filter. Welding mask. He didn't get great pictures with that camera. I felt kind of bad for him, but it still was a cool setup, so I had to get a picture of him doing that. So the eclipse is successful, everything's great, and then what do you do after the eclipse? Go to Lake Tahoe. It's rough. Isn't it rough being an astronomer? I mean, I'm out there being paid to see an eclipse and then living it up at it's just a beautiful location. So that always kind of piques my interest of where the eclipse is going. Try to pick some interesting places to go as well, especially if it's if it's something where it's a partial eclipse, that kind of thing. So October. Let's see here. I'll go to a map here and show you, because that's the one in 2024. Here's the map, the eclipse map for the eclipse that just happened in October. So what you do is you watch these maps, and so this is the path of annularity, basically where you can see the moon inside of the sun. So you have some great spots to view it from. So there's Crater Lake, Oregon, right around here, which is a beautiful spot to do. I could have gone to Lake Tahoe again, but I've already done that. Utah, that would have been nice. Albuquerque would have been nice. Texas down here. But there's one town that caught my attention, right there in the center. A certain place where supposedly, in 1947, a UFO crashed into the New Mexican desert. Alien bodies strewn about. People seeing it, people write about it in the paper, taking pictures of it, then people being quiet and silenced as the bodies go where? Have you heard the conspiracy of where the bodies ended up? Really close, Wright-Patterson, that is correct. There's bodies in the basement of Wright-Patterson. So I thought, well, I'm sure I got to go there. Why not? I mean, if I'm going to see an eclipse, why don't I go with some real wackos? They're kind of my kind of people, but maybe. So I was like, well, Roswell seems good. Forecast pretty good. If it's too cloudy, then I'll just pop up to Albuquerque instead. So I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. So here I am with the aliens and everything. And they really go all out for this. I mean, the car wash had an alien theme. The McDonald's looked like a UFO. I mean, aliens are everywhere. And I was talking to the club, because I wrote to the astronomy club there, the Roswell Astronomy Club, said, hey, I'm coming, can I come and hang out with you guys? Oh yeah, sure, of course, yeah. And I just like, so just let me get this straight. So a UFO crashed 75 years ago. Have you seen anything else since then? They're like, no. So just the one crash. They're like, yeah, just the one crash. No more aliens, no more UFO sightings, no more abductions. They're like, no. It's pretty good. One event changed their whole, one event changed their whole town. It's crazy. And I'm like, well, it's fine. We need something. What can we do for Miamisburg? What would be a good Miami? The mound dragon. We used to see a dragon circling around the mound every once. I'll work on it. Anyway.
Well, there are giants supposed to have been buried here, found here.
Oh, that's right, the giants.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you guys have too much scientific integrity to do that. Oh, well. Obviously, the Roswellians do not. But anyway, so it was great because usually when I go do these chases, I usually try to write to the clubs that are in a neighborhood, and every astronomy club, it is like a brotherhood. You can, if you're an amateur astronomer, you just welcome other amateur astronomers. They have every club is very similar. And so they have a real sense of passion for this, real outreach. And I said, you don't have an extra telescope, do you? Oh yeah, we got two. You can have one or you take your pick. And I was like, I'm gonna take that one. And of course they put me in the front, right where all the public is coming. So I get to greet the public and work the crowd and all that stuff. And I was surprisingly calm. Usually I'm very nervous and aggravated, but for some reason I was very zen on this eclipse. I don't know why. Maybe I'm getting better at it. But here's the picture I took when it's halfway done. See some sunspots there. And then here's when the annularity starts coming on here. And there's the last little bit coming through. And so, worked like a charm. And I don't know, it was really beautiful. Like people say a total eclipse, it's not even close to the next step down. But this was really pretty amazing. Because the moon is in there for about 4.5 minutes or so. And you look up with your eclipse glasses and you just see this perfect halo. The light was really weird. The shadows were really weird. Like it got cold too. It was pretty chilly as the temperature dropped. So I was really impressed by this. Other people were like, let's just get to the total one. But this one was really cool. I loved it. And so this is the video I took just with my phone attached to the telescope of the very end. And let's see, I think we can see the Bailey's beads again. So we'll kind of zoom in here. So this is in real time as it ends. And so there's the little mountains right there as it's coming around. So this is just with my phone through a telescope. And then it's all over and the sun's back. So, well, it's pretty good. So I thought what we'd look at here is what's going to be the situation in 2024. And I'll show you what it looks like out in space. Because remember I showed you that one graphic of the sun and the moon and the earth. Well, this is the more to scale version. So on this, we're standing on the sun, looking back at the earth and the moon. That's the Earth-Moon scale, pretty much. And so what we want to do is we want to see if we can get them lined up. Because the moon goes in front of the sun every month or so, but it doesn't line up perfectly. It has to be exactly lined up for it to work. So this I can run forward really fast. If we watch the moon revolve around the Earth, going around it, going behind it, going in front of it, going behind it, because the moon's orbit is tilted. So it's on this tilt, and if it's off by even just a little bit, there's no eclipses. So there's no eclipses each time it goes around. Behind it, in front of it, behind it, and whoop. Now that's what we're talking about. Zoom in. There it is. First off, that's the far side of the moon, the side of this moon we never see. We never knew what that looked like until 1959, when the Russians sent a spacecraft over there and got the first pictures of the far side of the moon. And only 21 people have ever seen that in person. No, 24 people, 24 people. But this is the shadow cast down onto the Earth. Now the big shadow is where you can see a partial eclipse, so part of the sun blocked out on any of those parts. The little dot is where the total eclipse is. And so if I go back, let's go back 1 hour. There we go. So if you really want to be brave, you could get on a boat and just hang out there. But I'm going to click, every time I click is 1 minute. This is how fast the shadow moves. 1 minute, each click is 1 minute. So there it goes, going across Mexico, going across Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Miamisburg. Yeah, close enough. And then on to Cleveland, Buffalo, Quebec, and out. So you want to be somewhere on that path. That's how fine it is. The closer you are to the dot, the more eclipsed it is, but you don't want 90%, you don't want 99%. And so here's the other map for April 8, 2024. So this is the very detailed one. And this is I like this one better than some of the other ones that are around. And it shows the path of totality. And look at Cincinnati there. So close. So close. And when I was working at the observatory, I was telling them, you know, guys, can we just like move for a day? Just put everything on a flatbed truck, ride it up there, bring the telescope up there. And I said, no, I can't do that. Okay. Well, I wanted to do that, that's for sure. So, where are we on this map? Let's see. I can see there's Miamisburg right there. And with this, I wonder if we even found there's the mountain park.
They're right there. Go the other way.
Other way? Wait, that way?
No.
This way?
Straight down. Go straight down.
Straight, okay, yeah.
There
There
we
it is,
are.
there it is, right there. Okay. So, if I click on this, and let's say you want to come here to view, or let's say you go over the mound, why not? We'll go to the top of the mound. And it'll tell me all the details. It'll tell me when the eclipse is happening, how good the eclipse will be, how long it'll last, and everything. So from here, it looks like the maximum eclipse is going to be at, it's universal time, 3:10 p.m. And total eclipse starts at 3:09, end of total eclipse 3:11. So you get 2 minutes, 17 seconds of totality. Not bad.
More than zero.
More than Cincinnati. If there was an observatory here, I might stay there. But let's say if you want to get the maximum amount of time, you want to go where the blue line is. And so there's one place that I have my eye on, up by 75 a bit, home of a famous astronaut. Wapakoneta I got my eye on Wapakoneta as an interesting place. Right off the interstate, easy on, easy off. I'll get stuck in traffic and all that stuff afterwards, but that's fine. So if I want to go to Wapakoneta, they're going to get 3 minutes, 56 seconds of totality. And if you're right on the line, you get about 4 minutes or so. Actually, this just said 3:57 also. That's interesting. So it's really not a big difference if you're a little bit off the line, but the farther you are away from it, the less you get. But you don't have to be right on the dead center line. You're only going to gain a fraction of a second there versus just a little bit off of it. But where you all are here, I would say go a little closer to the center. Why not? Because if you go up to, let's say even just Dayton, downtown Dayton, they're going to get 2 minutes, 44 seconds. It's a little better. North of Dayton would be even better than that. So, yeah, I'd say maybe just go up a little north, or you can go west also. Well, so I've had a variety of eclipse-chasing experiences. I showed you kind of two of the, I don't know, more exotic, but Reno and Roswell. Lunar eclipses I've seen in a variety of places. I've seen a lunar eclipse from from, well, that was New Mexico also. Cincinnati, New Mexico, California, Nevada, and Hawaii. And the one in Hawaii is very memorable because it was one of those things where the farther west you are, the more of the eclipse you'd be able to see. So in Cincinnati, it was just a little bit of an eclipse, but the farther west you get to see more. And the farther west you get to see more. And this eclipse was in January. And so I was like, well, in January, where do I want to go? California, not bad, but the farther west you go, the better you'll see it. So, why not go to Hawaii?
Poor you.
Poor me, I know, I'm good in sympathy. That's why I'm trying to fish for sympathy. January in Hawaii on the Big Island was amazing. And, you know, great vacation out of us. An eclipse night was clear. And I was at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And so you drive up to the volcanoes. At night, you could see the lava just in the distance spurting up with the lunar eclipse there. That's one I will never forget. It was just so awesome. And that was right before the big eruption that happened that wiped out most of the park resources. It was right before that. So that was even more amazing because of that. So, but to see a total eclipse, it's tricky because you want to balance the idea of you want to look at it in a special place, but you also don't want to be clouded out. Because if you miss it, oh, you don't want to see me after I miss an eclipse, that's for sure. So whenever there's a solar eclipse, I always have to weigh that balance. Do I want to be mobile, or do I want to pick a special place? And so sometimes I can be a little flexible and be mobile, and others I can't. So there's one example of a lunar eclipse. Oh, that's right. That's probably not very far from here. We were clouded out in Cincinnati for a lunar eclipse, and it was clear up north, and I hopped on I-75. I ended up watching it from the Chuck E. Cheese parking lot. Is that Chuck E. Cheese still there off 75? It's got to be close to here.
Yep.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
There was nobody there. That was for sure. But that was not a super. I've done a Cracker Barrel parking lot also once, and then one of the last lunar eclipses, I drove to Portsmouth, and Portsmouth is about an hour and a half, 2 hours east. And I looked on the map to try to figure out where I want to view from Portsmouth, and I thought, well, let's go by the river, you know, right by the bridges and all that stuff. There's a park there. Little did I know what happens at night along the river in a park in Portsmouth. There's some interesting characters there, that's for sure. But the one thing I learned is that as I was a little scared for my life in this thing, is that here I am at night with a giant contraption staring at the sky. I'm the weird one. And the people in the park stayed away from me. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty tough out here, or at least pretty weird. So when it comes to total eclipses, there was one in 2006 that I wanted to go see, and it was in the Mediterranean. So I thought, well, I think I can do that. There was a eclipse cruise where you could get in a boat and cruise around the Mediterranean, do some stops on some of the islands, and then eclipse day they would drive you into the path. And I figured that's a good compromise because they could also maneuver a little bit if it's cloudy. In one part they can move a little bit over. And so it turned out to be a great trip to see around Athens and the islands, and it was just this kind of idyllic place. And I hadn't really been on cruises before, but apparently, you might have experienced this, the main activity on cruises is eating. Does that sound right for people who've done cruises? So it's basically meal to meal, and at each meal, the topic of conversation was, how many eclipses is this for you? And people are like, oh, it's my third, my fifth, my sixth, my seventh. And it was always my turn. I said, it's my first. And they're like, oh, isn't he cute? They'd pinch my cheeks. They're like, oh, a little virgin, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah. And then somebody would come in and was like, yeah, this is my 15th. And everybody like, whoa. So anyway, this is kind of what the site was like. But I got to see some pretty amazing places. Oh yeah, so that's Ephesus. Oh, this is Patmos, the island of Patmos. Oh, that one was Mykonos. Ephesus there, Santorini there. And so here's Eclipse Day on the boat. with everybody with their variety of equipment and apparatus, checking out with the eclipse glasses ahead of time. And the thing is, oh, here's the people that are big eclipse chasers. That was their 15th, I think, eclipse that they've been on. They've been all around the world to see this. Other people with boats were around us also. And I was thinking I should be in the pool, but it was kind of cold. And it got really cold during the eclipse. But the thing is, with eclipses like this, you have to wait for the partial stage. It takes about an hour or so to go from the partial stage to the total stage. And as a nervous person, that hour stinks. That is the longest hour as I'm trying to kill the hour. Like, okay, this is nice all, but I want to see the total eclipse. So you have to kind of take a relaxed view of it. And another way you can view solar eclipses is use binoculars. Put the binoculars over your shoulder, let the sunlight come through them backwards, and they'll project down onto the ground. You can focus them with the focuser and everything. So you have your back to the sun, sunlight coming through the binoculars, it shows up as little crescents. Kind of nice. And then I had a filter on one of them too. Here's a pinhole projection. You put little pinhole messages. Also works if you have a colander, trucker hats, that kind of stuff works too. And this is how dark it got at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a pretty realistic view of what it looked like. Super dark. You're in this perfectly round shadow of the eclipse, dusk all around you, the stars popping out, and it was unbelievable. Now somebody took a video of the totality starting, and the video is okay. The quality's so-so. I want you to hear the audio of the people on the boat and the noises that they were making. And because it says a little bit more than even the pictures. So here we go.
Glasses off, look at the shadow coming into the west. Glasses on, look at the present.
So the person talking is an astronomer named David Levy. He was the discoverer of that comet that hit Jupiter a long time ago. So he was the celebrity guest, and he's on the PA system giving you the play-by-play. So he's saying, when you look at the sun, put your glasses on, then turn away and watch the shadow coming. Then look back at the sun again with the glasses, and then here we go.
Glasses off, look at the shadow coming in.
Oh yeah, and that's me in the blue behind the person in the yellow or green there. Anyway.
Glasses off, look at the sun. We are now in total eclipse.
Yeah, and then they blew the horn, which was right behind me. Almost jumped off the boat. Actually, I have no memory of that whatsoever. That didn't faze me. I was too just stunned. I was speechless. I really was. I just couldn't speak at all. I was so mesmerized by the sight of it. It was just so unbelievable. And so that it's very small. It's actually not very big at all. The sun is not a very big disk in the sky, and so it doesn't take up a lot of sky, but you see the rest of the sky also with it. And the advice that they gave me, since this was my first, is they said, don't waste time taking pictures. Take it in, soak it all in with your eyes. Soak it all in with your senses. Don't fuss over pictures and lose any seconds that way. Because they also said, because we got guys here that are going to take better pictures than you. And we'll give them to you. I was like, oh, okay, great. So here's the pictures they gave me. Way better picture than I was going to take, that's for sure. So this is a picture showing the last little bit of sunlight coming around the moon, called the diamond ring. And then it pops all the way down here. And this little pink thing, this is an eruption on the sun that you can see with the naked eye. This little pink eruption coming around the mountain of the moon. And then the streamers of the corona, the outer atmosphere of the sun, come out in all directions like this. And it just keeps on going and keeps on going. And it got so cold. They said the temperature dropped about 16 degrees in a few seconds. And then the sunlight pops out the other side, and it's all over, all too fast, all too soon. So totality there is 3 minutes, 53 seconds. And when I would show this program to kids especially, there would usually be a kid in the audience that would say, "You mean you went all that way for 3 minutes and 53 seconds?" And I was like, yes. It was worth it. It is worth it for that 3 minutes, 53 seconds, because it's mesmerizing, it's mind-blowing. And you'll never see it, hardly ever again. Well, and I got a vacation. So, I mean, it's not just the 3 minutes, 53 seconds. So then you celebrate at the end of the trip, and there were people that were within 5 minutes of the eclipse being over, already thinking about the next one. You become addicted and hooked. And luckily I haven't gotten that bad. Like, I'm not going to chase every eclipse around the globe yet. As a newly unemployed person, I'm not going to be able to do that. But as a hopefully future employed person, I may. But right now, it's around the United States. But it's something that can really grab a hold of you. So it's something to think about. If you're looking for excuses to travel, get to amazing places, it's good compensation in case you're clouded out. You know, get a vacation out of it. But the eclipse is the icing on the cake. So, the last one, 2017. Not a very exotic place I ended up. Franklin, Kentucky. Don't get me wrong, Franklin, Kentucky is a nice place. But at this point, I was of the opinion it didn't really matter where I watched this total eclipse. The important part was seeing it. And whether I saw it from like Nashville, Tennessee, or South Carolina, or Wyoming, the important part was seeing it. And so I decided I'm going to be mobile, I'm going to watch the weather and go to where it's clear. Luckily, it was clear across almost the whole path. But I ended up going to Franklin, Kentucky, which wasn't too far from Cincinnati. I got a few pictures of it. Took 3 hours to get there, 8 hours to get home. So that's the only equipment I brought, the little telescope with a little filter, camera on it. This is the telescope I brought tonight. So we're going to be doing some viewing outside. A couple of my colleagues brought some telescopes also, and they set up for you all to check out some planets. We have Jupiter and Saturn out there to look, so make sure to see them on the way out. And so, let's see, how am I doing on time? Oh, good. My one anecdote about this, I don't remember a lot, other than it was incredibly hot that day. I think it was, if you saw the eclipse around here, it was a blazing hot day. And this view was in the back of a Quality Inn. That's where I stayed the night at a Quality Inn. A friend had an extra hotel room, and so I got to take it last minute. They had this big yard, this big field in the back of the Quality Inn, and so we all asked them, could we use it? And they said, okay, sure. And all the people from the hotel came out and everything like that. And one of my big memories is there were some kids, there were some families there, and a kid bumped my telescope. I'm generally a mild-mannered person. I don't snap at people, but that kid is never going to touch a telescope ever again. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it might have been like, watch it, or I think I may have yelled at the parent, control your kid. So anyway, it was not my best moment. It was not my best moment, but luckily it was not during the big part of the eclipse and I got to readjust it. But after that, it was clear sailing, super clear skies, and I actually got some good pictures. And just, again, you can put your phone up to a camera, up to a telescope, and take pictures as well. So pretty incredible sight. Not as incredible as seeing it from Greece, but it was still pretty memorable. All right, so we got one down, one to go as far as the eclipses that were happening here. And so that's the big thing, is getting ready for April 8th. And so I thought what we do here for a final thing, and we can do some questions, is kind of give you the timing here. I'm going to go, let's see, this is from Cincinnati, but let's start in Cincinnati just first, just so I can show you how disappointing it's going to be for them. April 8th, 2024. Go back to 8 a.m. Go find the sun. zoom in. There we go. And so, as the morning goes to afternoon, here comes the moon. Crossing in, crossing in, crossing. It's going to get a little darker, but no totality. That 1% is still going to be lit up, and you're still not going to get the full effect. So all you have to do, we're at 39 degrees latitude, all you have to do is go up 1 degree latitude. 40, total eclipse. Are you all about 40 degrees latitude here? Is Dayton 40, or you're a little under 40? Still, somewhere around there. 40 or 41 degrees latitude, straight up I-75, you're going to see it. That's all it is, just that fine little bit. And then you get totality. So, now why is it saying it's 211? It's not 211. It's definitely at 311.
Standard time or daylight savings time?
Well, I think when I switched my latitude, it switched it to standard time. But so daylight savings time, so the totality will be right around 3:10 in the afternoon. So one of the things in Cincinnati that's a big debate is, what are the kids going to do? It's a Monday, it's a school day. Some districts are canceling. Cincinnati is not canceled. And I'm meeting with them in 2 weeks to lobby and say, you should cancel school. The reason why you should cancel school is because all your science teachers are going to call in sick that day. Half of the students are not going to show up either. And then those that do show up are going to be stuck in an hour or 2 hour long traffic jam trying to get out, because so many people, so many thousands and maybe millions of people are going to come to our region, and they're going to have to drive on I-75. Get ready. So I'm hoping that they'll see reason and take the day off. One teacher said, you know, the only other time they've ever had a day off is the day after Bengals were in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago. They actually took the day off of school the Monday after the Super Bowl. And they won't take it off for the eclipse? Boy, priorities, I don't know.
Well, the odds of Bengals taking it over might be the same.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right, that's true. It could be your 3,046 for Bengals Super Bowl, I don't know. Before this last week, I was hopeful, but now I'm not so sure. So definitely, you want to be ready for this and check it out. So let's see, any questions folks have? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
What's that computer program you're running to do all that prediction?
The program I was using to predict it is called, this one is called Starry Night. It's a very old program, as you can tell by the graphics. But it still works great. There's a free one that's called Stellarium. Does the same thing. So it's Stellarium, stellarium.org, and you download for free and do the same kind of stuff. I'm still using Starry Night because, I'm just used to it. Well, plus Stellarium doesn't do the stuff like, well, I can't bring it up. The stuff like this. It doesn't do this as well. So this, you can fly to other planets, you can fly to other things with Starry Night, but Stellarium is free, and the graphics are a lot better, but the applications are a little tougher. But,
You know anybody that's hurt their eyesight?
have I ever learned about anybody that's like damaged their eyes looking at the sun? I have never in all my years heard anybody who's gone blind from it. That's the wives' tale. Don't look at the sun because you'll go blind. Good rule of thumb. Because your eye is like a little magnifying glass, and it'll focus that light back to your retina. If you look at the sun too long, it will mess you up. I've just never heard anybody do it, but people are still worried about it. And I remember, I'll tell you guys the other anecdote from 2017. I was talking to a principal, trying to convince them to cancel school. And the principal said, nah, I don't think we're going to. In fact, I've been advised that we should cancel recess. And I was like, well, why? And he said, because the kids will go outside and go blind. I'm like, why? He was like, because they'll stare at the sun. I was like, why? Why would your kids stare at the sun? And they're like, well, because the eclipse is scary, it'll blind them. I'm like, that's not how it works. It doesn't. And then, okay, I got a little upset. Because this is like the teachable moment. With minimal equipment, you can show the kids during the day amazing things. And he didn't want to do it. And so I said this, wow, I really feel sorry for you. I mean, because how do your kids go out to recess every day without blinding themselves? I mean, God, it's so bad that you have such stupid students. I mean, you can't walk up to the bus, they're going to blind themselves. How do you do that? And he was like, yeah. I was like, no, but I'm serious. That's the same exact thing. You can't trust them on a normal day, you can't trust them then. I think the problem's not with the kids, that's for sure. So yeah, I maybe got a little out of control with that one, calling his kids stupid. But anyway, it's not what I meant. But.
Hey, May 10th of '94, there was a partial eclipse in this area, and a kid east of Cincinnati was goofing off and looked at the sun and blinded himself.
Oh, really?
During a partial this year, May 10th of '94.
94, oh yeah, the almost total. Oh, I haven't heard about that story, but yeah, you don't want to mess around with it, that's for sure. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
You said you were at the Grand Canyon looking at the sky. Were you down in the canyon?
Mm-hmm.
That was a fabulous place to be because there is no other light.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so when I was at the Grand Canyon, part of the trip was hiking down to the bottom and everything like that also. And I mean, yeah, there's nothing. And you're pretty much isolated. There is no lights anywhere and the stars are just right there. But even on the south rim, they've made some changes to the lighting. It is very dark up there too. They've done a really good job of that. But yeah, when you're down there, you're like in a whole different world. It's one of the most amazing places to go. And I was wondering, I would think the canyon walls would be blocking your view. But it's such a, I mean, there's steep parts, but it's so far down. I mean, it's you're miles from the rim. And so you still get a pretty good swath of the sky. Maybe the bottom 20 degrees are blocked, but that's about it. Yeah, it was incredible. I love it there. I think about that place quite often. Phantom Ranch down there, it's just amazing.
You should go to the North Rim. I was there in August, and it's even darker.
Yeah, the North Rim's amazing too. I've only been there one time, but that's an incredible spot. And so I think the next trip I'm going to walk down from the north and come up the south, go rim to rim. But the Grand Canyon makes it as easy as they can for me. I like roughing it, but I don't like roughing it that much. I still had to walk down and walk back up, but I only had to carry a day pack. They sent all my supplies down on a mule, and they even said we can put you down on the mule, but I saw the people when they get off the mule. Yeah, they walked way worse than I did when I walked in. So, but yeah, and I got to stay in a cabin. I got a bed. I had a kitchen. I had a shower. That was my kind of roughing it. I just had to walk 5 hours downhill, a big hill, and then 6 hours back up the hill. So, but yeah, it was incredible. So, yes.
Do the Eclipse glasses really have an expiration date? I mean, if you have brand new glasses in a drawer for 5 years, are they going to spoil like a gallon of milk?
So yeah, Eclipse glasses do have a shelf life. The plastic on there will degrade. It is 6 years. If you store them in a nice place, they're probably okay. So what you do is get your brightest flashlight you can have. Maybe your phone flashlight or just even brighter flashlight. Shine it backwards through there and see if there's any degradation. You'll see some spots, some mottling, cracks, that kind of thing. If you don't see any of that, that's probably good. But do a test, just in case, because I've seen some that get damaged, and they're not too hard to damage. You sit on them the wrong way, get a crease, yeah, that crease will make stuff bad. But you're probably okay. Yes?
Also on the glasses, I know a lot of people, at least I heard a lot of people in 2017 had a hard time getting glasses, and a lot of people ended up with really bad glasses.
Yes.
How do you avoid that?
Yes. There was a big thing about knockoff glasses that were going around. And they were, I think it was a little overhyped about the knockoffs, because we got some of the knockoffs just to see, and they were fine. We tested them out, and they were all right. The newer ones have a shinier coating. The older ones don't, but the ones that don't still were fine. I think they moved to the shinier because these are so dark, like you can't see anything other than the sun. So they made them darker. I think that's what it was. But the old style ones are still okay. So my advice, well, I got real good advice. Buy them from me today. I mean, I'll be right back up there. We got these really cool black and red ones. They're really cool. So I would say get them now. Don't mess around. Don't wait because, this is my retirement plan. And as we move towards April, the price is just going to keep going up and up and up. I mean, I'm going to sell these for $100 a pair by April 1st. So get them now while they're only $250 each. So. Yeah, there's where I got these from, the most reputable place is called Rainbow Symphony. That's the one that makes lots of different solar filters. So you can pick up this. I think they're on the back of the glasses too. So that's a good place to get them. But get them early because next year it's going to be a free-for-all. And then I'm going to cash in. So, well, thanks everybody for having me here today. I'll hang around afterwards, and remember we've got some stargazing outside. I think they are setting up in the front.
Were they? You guys?
I think so. We might, if we could turn out the lights in the front, that might be good. But we'll check, and then I'll be at the table back there with some books and some Eclipse glasses and answer some more questions. But yeah, if you want to get in the glasses or the books, I can take cash, check, charge, or Venmo. Whatever that other one is, I don't know what it is. Maybe I can take it.
Bitcoin.
Nah, I don't do Bitcoin, unfortunately. Sorry. Gold coins. No, but anyway, I'll see me over there at the back, and then we can talk some more. But thanks so much. Thank you very much.